Good evening from Wales, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight news, and reviews on a daily basis. And it's January 3rd, 2024, and we have a huge weekend of professional wrestling. Tonight, we have the first ever 3-hour SmackDown. That is going to be a huge deal. Then tomorrow morning in the UK, technically tonight in the United States, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom event. And then less than 24 hours after that, in the Tokyo Dome, again, we have New Japan x CMLL x AEW x Ring of Honor x Stardom Wrestle Dynasty. It is going to be a huge weekend for professional wrestling. And then, of course, on Monday, we have the Raw on Netflix premiere. It's going to be a crazy few days. It is a fantastic weekend to be a fan of the sport of professional wrestling. But to cover such a stacked weekend, I need a stacked panel. And indeed, I do have one today. Let's kick things off with the Tuesday Night Delight on a Friday. How are you, Shad?
Finally, the Shad is back on your Wrestling Republic daily broadcast. I feel like it's been a while, even though it hasn't been that long, but it's been a while since I did a show with you, Ben. Good to see you, man. First show of the new year for me. I'm ready. It's going to be a lit weekend for pro wrestling. I'm excited, man.
Absolutely. And we have Ethan Scott 64 over on Instagram saying, let's go Wrestling Republic. Absolutely. It is going to be a fun weekend. That is for sure. Numero 1 Superfly is saying happy Friday. Happy Friday to you as well, Numero 1. But also joining us all the way from Philadelphia, we have Josh Markowitz. How are you, Josh?
What's up, everybody? What's up, Ben? What's up, Shad? I'm doing great. No complaints. Again, same with Shad. This is my first show of the year, so I'm fired up to be here. And I feel like I say this every time I'm on here, but what a time to be a wrestling fan, really, especially this weekend. Just so much going on all over the globe from every promotion. So I'm fired up to get into it. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And while things right now are just going so well in professional wrestling, they could always be going better. And in this opening topic, we are going to be discussing one thing from both WWE and then one thing from AEW that we want to see improved in 2025. It is now 2025, and hopefully it is going to be a great year for professional wrestling. But Shad, if you could improve one thing in both WWE and another thing in AEW, what would it be?
So, it's 2025, new year. You tend to see a lot of people go to the gym. They're making a New Year's resolution. It's a new year, new me. And yeah, I like that this is the opening topic. New year, new me for the AEW and for WWE. Both companies give us so much greatness. Let me start off with that. So this isn't any, this is minor criticism, stuff that they can improve, like you mentioned. So we're going to start with the Fed. We're going to start with the WWE. And I was thinking, and I was just, what do I kind of, not like as much about on the WWE end? And more so, I wouldn't touch the main roster. I feel like they need to do a better job on the focus of the mid-card division. Now, when I say that, I'm not strictly speaking just about the champions. I think Braun Breaker is phenomenal. Shinsuke got the shocking win over LA Knight, but I'm thinking more of what LA Knight did. But with these new champions, I feel like the lack of competition has kind of been there at times. Storylines haven't been driven to what they should be. And more or less, WWE kind of gives you a good meat and potatoes of the main stuff. We're talking about CM Punk, and we're talking about Seth. We're talking about everything Bloodline. And even with the ladies, we're talking about Liv and Rhea. But a lot of the other people that are kind of in the middle of the pack, they don't get the ample amount of television time, the ample amount of good enough storylines driven for it. And I do think that is a bit of a concern for the totality of the promotion, because how I look at it is like this, man. It's levels in this. You start off, you kind of like undercard person. You work yourself maybe to be a jobber, but then you get yourself in the mid card and you put in a lot of work. And a lot of it is young stars. And a lot of these young stars aren't getting as much of a push as they should get, or just people that do their role on some everyday basis. So in my mind, I feel like the mid card division could definitely get some retooling, get some work. Nothing too crazy. You just kind of build some good storylines. Not every storyline needs to be for a title. We're talking about a topic later on today that can also help you out, be a crutch to fill out the void. Now, AEW, man, I'm a sicko, right? I don't take my vitamins every day because I'm a sicko. Sorry, Hulk Hogan. But if I was to make a change on their behalf, it's the most obvious one. And it's the one that you and I talk about on a daily basis, damn near sometimes, Ben. It's the women's division. I think AEW's time allocated to the women's division is just, it's laughable. You can laugh at it, how bad it can be. And, I'm looking at the roster, man. I'm seeing people like Willow, seeing people like Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter, Julia Hart, Anna Jay. Like, I feel like the excuse of, we're trying to put the best people on TV can't always be the case when it's that limited of a time. It's a similar aspect to how I look at it on like Dynamite, which is the flagship show. You get yourself one women's match and then you call it a day. If you have two titles, let have some times where both women get an opportunity to wrestle or something to progress that. Or, like I said, separate storylines that don't have to be with a title. I do believe the best people should be on TV, but I don't think that's always the case in AEW. I think a person like a Julia Hart, a Jamie Hayter, a Willow are better than a lot of the guys that get on TV. So if you're going to make it an even playing field, make it an even playing field. Not saying it got to be a quota, but make it an even playing field and help build up that division more. So for WWE, mid-card division needs to get built up better. And for AEW, the women's division needs to get built up better.
I absolutely agree with both of those, to be honest with you, Shad, especially the women's one. Like you said, we both talk about it very, very often. And I have basically two criticisms or improvements I would like to see AEW make. One of them you said, and the other one, and what my pick today is, I want to see not a hard brand split, but a soft roster split. And what I mean by that is you take up the top stars and different storylines, you put some on Collision, some on Dynamite. You don't do a draft, it's nothing official, but it's to the point where you know who's advertised for what show. You watch some of the major storylines on Collision, some on Dynamite. That way, not only will all the top stars get time, because right now, some weeks, some of the top stars aren't even getting enough time, but also there will be a reason to watch Collision. It won't just be adding a little bit more details to storylines. It will be where some of the really important stuff is going on as well. They've dropped Rampage now, so they don't have to worry about that. They've just got Collision and Dynamite to worry about. And I think now that there's an hour less for fans to watch as well, they can really try and get more people back into Collision. And a soft roster split, which, like I said, when storylines change, so can that soft roster split. Maybe Kenny Omega will be on Collision for 3 months, then Dynamite. But just doing it this way gives people a real reason to watch Collision, other than it just, adding a little bit to storylines. Then for WWE, the one thing which I would improve is very, very simply, and this has been an issue for quite a long time now, don't call people up to the main roster unless you have proper plans for them. Because I am sick and I am tired of people getting called up and then either doing nothing like Apollo Crews, or like Baron Corbin getting called up and then getting released without even getting a chance, really. It really does frustrate me. honestly, if you don't see a future for them on the main roster, just don't call them up in the first place, because you make it a big thing, you introduce them to fans, and then you just take them away without even giving them the opportunity. If they get called up, you need to have a plan for them. You need to have a long-term plan, and if it doesn't work out then okay. But you need to at least give them a very, very fair chance. We've got quite a few comments here. Bobby Retito is saying that in 2025 in WWE, he would like to see more tag teams get showcased. A great shout. Soul is saying international ticket prices is his issue with WWE. With AEW, he wants specialized stages. But what about you, Josh? What do you want to see?
Yeah, you guys both brought up great points. I agree with all four of those points, actually. And Ben, especially your Brent split, I definitely agree. Collision needs that reason why people watch it, besides the fact that it's just extra AEW wrestling on TV. I definitely agree with that. And that would be great just to see the top wrestlers only get showcased on Collision, would really make that mean something. But I'm going to start with WWE. For that, for WWE, I'm going to go, I think, more title defenses. And with that, comes allowing belts to be switched hands on weekly shows. I think they did a great job with the Intercontinental Championship. I think that was defended a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot. You never really knew what was going to happen with Jey Uso and Braun Breaker. But outside of that, not really. Obviously, we know the Judgment Day and that whole situation. They defended the belts like once ever, which was just horrible. But honestly, I would love just to see a few times the WWE Undisputed Championship defended on Raw. I was looking back, and in 2021, some of the darkest times WWE's had in COVID, the Thunderdome, we saw Big E and Bobby Lashley defend the WWE Championship on Raw 9 times. The WWE Championship was defended 9 times on Monday Night Raw. And during those darker times, this made that belt and also Monday Night Raw feel a little bit more important. Now, I'm not saying, have Cody Rhodes defend the belt on Raw 10 times, but maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, throw it on Raw, make it feel really important. And I was there in 2016 in Philly on Monday Night Raw when Roman Reigns won the WWE Championship, and that was special because people didn't really believe it. I remember coming in there, I was like, I think 9 years old, and I was just thinking, there's no way Roman Reigns wins it. It's Raw. Literally, the reason why I didn't believe he was going to win was because it was on Raw, and then he won, and it was shocked. And the Philly crowd was fired up, actually, because we were booing him the year before Royal Rumble. But that was a great moment. I feel like, the championship hasn't been defended on Raw in 3 years. Why not a few times have Cody defend it? It gives Raw or SmackDown that bigger feel like it had in 2016 and even 2021. So, that's kind of a minor thing. It's not that big of an issue, but I think that would be something cool that WWE could add. Now, for AEW, I think the obvious run is, run smaller venues, and they've been doing that, but I won't talk about that because that's obviously a big point everybody talks about. I think outside of just running smaller venues, which I think AEW is starting to do, and that's definitely going to help out, I think just fix that tag division. I mean, just 5 years ago, I've been watching on Max in the United States. They've now released the Dynamite replays of 2019, and man, I can't stop talking about how good that tag team division was. I mean, in 2019, AEW was created around the fact that they had the best tag division in the world. And it was one of the best tag divisions in any promotion in history of professional wrestling. Genuinely, every match was a banger. They were opening the show. They were closing Dynamite. It was great. And I think getting the belts off the Young Bucks was the first right step. I think then giving Private Party the push now is also showing great potential for this tag scene. And even FTR coming back will definitely help. But then again, you have the losses of the Lucha Brothers. It's going to be tough. I think ways to do this, I would love to see AEW try to do something similar to what they did with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Maybe just throw together a team. For example, Will Ospreay and Darby Allin. I mean, how good would that tag be? I don't know how long they would go because they're both single stars. We know that. But how good would it be to see Darby Allin and Will Ospreay tag for 3-4 months, win the belt, have a few segments, promos, programs, sorry. It would be great. But, AEW could also pick up New Japan names like Catch 2 out of 2 or the Jet Setters. But I think overall, if AEW can really fix that tag division, which is not horrible, but if they can get back to somewhat close to what they had in 2019, man, it would be incredible.
Absolutely. I really do think we all made great points here because, like you said, when AEW started, one of the biggest things about their promotion was the tag team wrestling was going to really be a focal point, and it ended up, it just hasn't been in recent years. But honestly, if they do all 6 of these things, right? So if WWE do the 3 we've said, AEW do the 3 we've said, I think we'll be in for a great old year. So Tony Khan, Triple H, hopefully you're watching today. TCX Warlord says WWE needs another brand for the wrestlers who are in catering. Here is the issue. I just don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough, especially now with SmackDown and Raw both going 3 hours. No way do people have enough time to watch yet another show. The demand isn't there for it.
WWE's roster is not that big on the main roster. I feel like they have a good amount of people.
Yeah, no, it is true. It's not that big now, especially with the 3 hour shows as well. They might actually need to make some call ups from NXT in the near future, perhaps tonight with the show going to 3 hours. But we will talk about that a little bit later on. But right now, before we do, let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's talk about Wrestle Kingdom. I have the cards pulled up right here. Let's firstly talk about Wrestle Kingdom. Then afterwards, we'll move on to Wrestle Dynasty. First things first, we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships on the line in a ladder match, which is a real rarity over in New Japan, when the Intergalactic Jet Setters, otherwise known as Kevin Knight and Kushida, will be taking on Catch 22, Akira and TJP, of course, versus Fujita and Robbie Eagles, and then Clark Connors and Drilla Maloney from the Bullet Club War Dogs. That is going to be epic. That is going to be a fun one, no doubt about it. But something else which is going to be fun, because her matches are always fun, is the IWGP Women's title being on the line, as Mayu Iwatani is going to be defending against Azumi in what I really am looking forward to tomorrow. We've also got the World TV title on the line in a four-way, as Narita defends against ELP, Jeff Cobb, and Oiwa. And that one I'm actually quite interested in. The lumberjack match between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Evil will personally be my toilet break, but I will be back right to my seat for the next match, because we have the international and never openweight title on the line, as Shingo defends against Takeshita. Well, I mean, they both defend against each other. That one is going to be a banger. Yes, please, and I'll take seconds. I am hyped for that one. Dookie will then defend against El Desperado for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and the IWGP Global Heavyweight title will be on the line as David Finlay defends against Yota Tsuji. And then in a singles match, we're going to have Mentor versus Ment-E. We are going to have Tetsuya Naito versus Hiromu Takahashi. It was meant to happen a few years back, but it will happen tomorrow, and it will be very fun indeed. Then we got the IWGP World Heavyweight title on the line in the main event. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shota Umino. We know some of the fans aren't happy that Shota is going into this match. You know, having a Wrestle Kingdom main event this early on, it kind of feels like, you mentioned it earlier, Josh, Roman Reigns Philadelphia when he won the Royal Rumble there in, 2015. It kind of feels like that, where they really just don't want him to be in this position, but he is in it. But he has an opportunity to prove himself against Zack Sabre Jr., and I am excited for it. Shad, I'm going to pass this to you first. What are you looking forward to the most on the Wrestle Kingdom card?
Yeah, so I will have to say that I've gone through a crazy rabbit hole the last 3 weeks, just watching Stardom heavily. And Mayu Iwatani is just so much better than a lot of people at professional wrestling. She's remarkable. I watched the Stardom show today with the trios match, and then if y'all haven't seen it, man, the sequence at the end where she's able to kind of get the roll-up win is phenomenal. She's had such a dominant reign in 2024, arguably, consideration for Women's Wrestler of the Year, and her going against someone as young and talented as Azume, them having a bit of a tee-off on the Stardom show too, because both of them part of the trios match. I'm very curious to see how it goes, and I think that's the match I am mostly excited for on this show. I think it's just the level of these Joshi wrestlers, man. They're next level, dude. Like, they're just so good at professional wrestling. And both of these women are in the prime of their careers. I think it's going to be special. And I kind of feel like this may be a defying big time moment for Azumi, where I think she does beat Mayu in her, long title reign that she's had in 2024, starting off the year, new champion and whatnot. I could be wrong. I don't know. And that's what I'm excited for to see. But yeah, I think this match is going to be amazing. And this is the match I'm mostly excited for, as well as Shingo and Takeshita. I think that's going to probably be the best match on the men's side. Although that ladder match is pretty crazy too. But one of those two ones. But I'm definitely going to, hold it down for the ladies. And I'm going to pick Mayu and Azume as my most anticipated match for Wrestle Kingdom.
Great shout, no doubt about it. Bobby Petito is in the comments agreeing with you, saying Shingo versus Takeshita and Mayu Iwatani versus Azumi are his two matches as well. Christopher Leclerc is saying... He does know ball indeed. Christopher Leclerc is saying, let's go Azumi. Soul is calling Forbidden Door 2025 ZSJ versus Nigel McGuinness for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. That would be I would love for it to happen. Bobby Petito was saying Evil's matches is bathroom break every time. It is true, isn't it? Let's be real about it.
Oh my God.
House of Torture is torture to watch.
Yeah, Evil don't get no love from anybody, man. A lot of people don't like him.
It's the same match. It's not even him. It's the fact that every single one of his matches are the same. It's the same structure for every single House of Torture match since I think it was whenever it was before even House of Torture. It was when he joined Bullet Club in 2020. Ever since then, it's been the same thing over and over and over again, and then they spun off into House of Torture, and that got worse at that point. But Josh, what about you? What are you excited for at the Wrestle Kingdom card?
Yeah, I'm excited for this card. This is what I love, Wrestle Kingdom, because I get to wake up at 3 a.m. Obviously, it's not always that fun because, luckily I live in the United States, so I get to watch, majority of wrestling at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. So I do feel grateful, and I get how, the rest of the world feels now that I have to wake up at 3 a.m. for this, but I'm kind of excited actually to get to just set an alarm for 3 a.m. and watch some wrestling. It's going to be fun. And I looked at the card, and I think anytime you see mentor versus mentee, anytime you see a dream match, that's just what stands out on the card. And I got to go, Tetsuya Naito versus Hiromu Takahashi. I think it's obvious this is going to be a great match. And, they were supposed to have their match in 2020. Obviously, the match was canceled due to COVID, which is unfortunate. And all the time there's dream matches. And of course, there were a bunch of matches that were supposed to happen that got canceled due to COVID just throughout all of wrestling. And they didn't always end up actually happening. So the fact that this match is going to happen is super, super fun. I'm really excited for it. And obviously, we know Hiromu Takahashi's main goal in wrestling pretty much was to have a match with Naito, and it's finally going to come true. So I think it's going to be a banger, and that's what stands off on the card for me.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of questions surrounding Naito's health in the last couple of years now. His match quality, a lot of people are saying, has gone down slightly. This is possibly his last big high-profile match out of Wrestle Kingdom if things continue the way that they are going. So I agree with you, Josh. I do think they're going to put everything on the line and have an absolute banger.
Yep.
Now let's move on to talk about Wrestle Dynasty, because just 24, in fact, less than 24 hours after, because the next stage starts earlier, so you guys in the United States will be able to watch it starting at 10 p.m. On Sunday, but I guess it'll be Saturday night for you guys. It's so confusing, all these time zones. But we're going to have a Lucha Gauntlet match with 7 competitors. We have no idea who. We don't know yet, but I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun. We are going to have an International Women's Cup Final Fatal 4-Way match with Athena taking on Momo Watanabe, Willow Nightingale, and Persephone. I mean, that one's going to be super interesting. I have never, ever seen anything from Persephone. I'm sorry if I'm botching the name. I've never, ever seen anything from her. So that is certainly one I want to check out, just to check her out. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships will be on the line as the Sons of Texas, otherwise known as Dusty Rhodes and Samuel Guevara, will be defending against Sho and Kanemaru of House and Torture. Then the winner of Takeshita versus Shingo from the night before will be taking on Ishii. So we're guaranteed another banger no matter who wins that one. Then for the IWGP Tag Team Championships, which of course are currently vacant, we have got the Young Bucks going up against Great-O-Khan and a mystery partner. We'll have to wait and see who on that one. But the CEO, Mercedes Moné, will be defending the New Japan Strong Women's Championship while challenging for the Rev Pro Women's title as she takes on Mina Shirakawa. Yes, please. Once again, I'll take seconds. Then from here, we have 5 singles matches, 5 non-title singles matches. We have David Finlay versus Brody King, Jack Perry versus Yota Tsuji, Ricochet versus Zack Sabre Jr. Again, yes, please. And Claudio Castagnoli versus Shota Umino. And then, of course, in the main event, Kenny Omega will be returning to the ring to take on Gabe Kidd. A lot of fascinating stuff here. Josh, I'm going to pass it to you first. What are you looking forward to the most on this one?
So this is not the one that I'm going to talk about, but I do just want to quickly point out that David Finlay and Brody King is going to be an absolute banger. I cannot wait for that. I'm so excited to see Brody King in singles action in New Japan, especially against David Finlay. Come on, that's going to be great. But obviously, I'm going to choose the classic. You got to go Kenny Omega versus Kidd. I mean, I'm not a massive New Japan guy, but I have followed it, and I've seen Gabe Kidd is simply one of the best wrestlers in the world this past year, at least. During a rough early portion of New Japan, he was one of the few bright spots. And, we haven't seen Omega wrestle all year, and I'm just happy to see him back. He did have serious health concerns, and there were issues, and, we weren't sure if we were ever going to see him back in the ring. So just so great to see such a great wrestler get back into the ring, especially in the main event of one of the biggest shows of the year. So I can't wait to see that, especially when he's returning what seems like home for him in the Tokyo Dome. That's going to be an absolute banger. Kenny Omega, Gabe Kidd. I'll take seconds and thirds.
Oh, absolutely. It is going to be insane. I am pumped for it. Soul is predicting that TJP will be Great-O-Khan's tag team partner. Meanwhile, Bobby Petito is saying that his guess is it will be Mark Davis. 2 very interesting shouts here. But Shad, what are you looking forward to at Wrestle Dynasty?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Omega's return is definitely got to be the high point. I agree with everything that Josh said there. Him returning to the Tokyo Dome is incredible. I'm glad to see him back and healthy. It's going to be sensational. Gabe Kidd is so good too, bro. He's hilarious. I love his promo work, man. He got a loud mouth, man. And he ain't afraid to talk his talk. But I'm going to be honest. I think if I had to pick something else, I got to go with 2 matches. And I'm going to, cop out and pick 2. And I'll give you separate reasons why. One, Ricochet versus Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be an excellent, well-wrestled match. I want to see Ricochet, this is making in his return back into outside of the WWE, coming to Japan again. That's going to be interesting. Is him going against Zack Sabre Jr. That's going to be one of the ones, as well as just the great character work Ricochet is doing. I want to see how he's able to implement that, what type of tactics he will use wrestling this match. Will he have more heel tactics and whatnot? It's going to be dope. But I got to go with the CEO, Ben. Mercedes Moné versus Mina Shirakawa. Mina Shirakawa is an absolute gem of a professional wrestler. She is excellent in the ring, and she is a ball of energy that is so fun character-wise and outside of it. But when the bell rings, she is great as it comes. She's a show woman, not a showman, but a show woman. She flaunts, she taunts, she does all of that too. And Mercedes Moné, it's time to have a serious conversation, wrestling fans. Y'all have been saying that she's been wasting time coming to AEW and leaving WWE. This woman is arguably been the best in-ring wrestler in the women's division all of last year. She don't got a lot of misses. And when you want to talk about what misses she doesn't have, it's out in Japan. She is arguably better wrestling outside of AEW in Japan. So I'm super excited for that match. And wouldn't that be dope? She gets the Rev Pro title, Ben. Y'all can see her wrestle out in the UK on some Rev Pro shows.
Absolutely. No, that would be fun to see her in the United Kingdom. There's no doubt about it. I mean, after talking about these two cards, I am somehow now even more excited for the event. Soul saying maybe Osprey is the partner. Bobby Petito also throwing Swerve Strickland's name in the mix. I mean, maybe I'd be shocked if Osprey was a surprise purely because I think they would have announced him to try and sell tickets because he is a huge draw over there. So I don't think he'd be a surprise, but who knows? Never say never in wrestling. Christopher Leclerc is rooting for Mina Shirakawa in this one. Personally, I've got Mercedes Moné, but we will have to wait to find out. But now let's move on. Let's move on to talk about the first ever 3-hour edition of Friday Night SmackDown tonight, right? Because this is, like I said, the first time they've ever gone 3 hours. And they've only announced 2 things, which is about 2 things less than usual. Usually they announce about 4 things going into a SmackDown. Well, we got half of that, so who knows what's happening tonight. But there are 2 big things happening. Firstly, Andrade will be taking on Shinsuke Nakamura in a non-title match. Now, we kind of know what that means. We kind of know it means Andrade's probably winning. But we will have a championship match on the show because Nia Jax will be defending the WWE Women's Championship against Naomi. And a lot of people are predicting a possible cash-in. But my question for you guys is, I guess, based out of these 2 segments, which one are you excited for? But also, do you think this move to 3 hours is a good idea? Because if I'm being completely honest, right, I'm thinking to myself, I'm happy that Raw's going back 3 hours, but SmackDown 3 as well, it's a lot more wrestling every single week, isn't it? I'm a big wrestling fan, obviously, but I'm not sure if that's a step too far. Shad, what's your thoughts on it all?
Between the 2 matches, which one I'm more excited for? I might go Shinsuke and Andrade just because it feels like a fresher matchup to me. I don't know what it is with the Nia Jax title reign, Ben. It's something that I think in the beginning of it and how dominant she was, I enjoyed it. But like we've hit a plateau in the title defense. It seems like it's something that is kind of starting to lose my interest. And I think her and Naomi have great chemistry. But I have seen these 2 women wrestle so many times, I feel, in this past year. I don't know what the stat sheet is on it, but I know I've seen this match happen a couple times already. And if it's going to happen again, damn it, give Naomi the title because that adds a level of different booking to it. But 3 hours going into SmackDown, I am on the fence about it. I think if you can find your way to make it captivating, to make sure that extra hour doesn't drag, that it's something that isn't, just a whole bunch of filler, then I'm all right with it. I'm cool with it. I have less worry about it than Monday night personally because I don't work on Saturday. So I'm being selfish. I can go to bed later and wake up at a better time. But it is a level of concern where this WWE's main roster, what are we going to do with it, right? If we use it in a beneficial way where it helps elevate people and give people good TV time and we're, utilizing that extra hour for, some positivity, then I'm cool with it. But if it is going to be filler and it becomes a situation where these shows start to drag and become tiresome on both nights, then we might have some problem because WWE is hot right now. They're definitely drawing interest to a lot of old fans coming back, a lot of, casuals. Y'all don't want to brush people away. You don't want to become, too long in the tooth where it becomes kind of boring and stagnant again. So that is a little bit of concern. I'm just curious to see what they are going to do. USA Network isn't going to trip about it because there's nothing showing on USA. They don't show nothing. You want to see Law and Order for the 9th hour in a row? Nah, they're going to be happy to have an extra hour of WWE on Friday. So, I'm 50-50. I'm copping out on the answer, I know, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where we're going to have to, I think, wait for it to play out over the next couple of weeks to really have an opinion. The one positive, Bobby Petito mentions Pretty Deadly will hopefully be getting more time. If they don't get more time, I'm going to be fuming. They deserve it. They deserve all the TV time. 3 hours.
Blair Davenport, he said.
True, but I just want Pretty Deadly the musical, Shad. That's all I want, okay? That's all I want in my life.
What honestly, the 10 what is it, the 9 o'clock hour? Just give them an hour special every Friday.
A musical every week. I love it. Let's do that. Josh, what about you? What are you looking forward to on this show? And what are your thoughts on SmackDown going 3 hours?
Yeah, so for starters, I will say it is super weird and intriguing that we have very, very little announced tonight for technically the longest SmackDown ever. So that's definitely intriguing. It seems like there's gonna be a lot of surprises, which is always fun. I think I'm probably most excited for the Women's Championship match because why not? We got a championship in the line. Always exciting to see that. And of course, the cash in is always in the back of my mind there, which, we'll see what happens. I feel like that's been teased forever. But I also think we got to get some sort of bloodline interaction or segment for this upcoming Monday. I'm sure we'll see the bloodline. Definitely see Solo somewhere. Not sure with who. Probably with Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn, I'm sure. But something just to lead into Monday for Tribal Combat, I'm sure. So I'm excited for all that. And just the surprise aspect of tonight's SmackDown. But in terms of 3 hours SmackDown, yeah, this seems like something that's just going to take a little bit of time, one, to get used to, and two, to see if it really worked. But in my opinion, I think SmackDown going 3 hours is the right choice right now. You're in the best era of WWE maybe ever. You're consistently putting out good content. You got a loaded and packed roster. You're drawing tickets everywhere. You're breaking records all over the globe. There's no reason to limit yourself. You got one show that's 3 hours. Why not try to make the other show 3 hours? See what happens. And especially, there's a lot of pros in WWE. There's a lot of stuff that WWE is doing right now that is just working so well. And we did talk about this earlier in the improvement segment. What's one thing that WWE could improve on? It's the mid card. It's those belts. It's how much time that they get. And we just talked about Pretty Deadly, Blair Davenport. This is a massive opportunity for the mid card. That 9 p.m. section, that even the 10 to 10:30 section for SmackDown. This is really big for WWE. In 2019, I would say make SmackDown 30 minutes. Now I'm saying let's make SmackDown 3 hours. Let's just see what happens. Why not give yourselves another hour, display your rosters, tell your stories. I think this is a really, really big opportunity for WWE, and I really don't want them to mess it up, and I don't think they will either. I'm really, really excited to see this 3 hours. I do agree with you, Ben. It is just a lot of wrestling to watch. So that's, I love wrestling, of course, but 6 hours of WWE programming every week, besides NXT, that's 8 hours, is not always, that's a lot of wrestling. That's a lot of wrestling. But I'm really excited to see SmackDown go 3 hours. I think they're going to do well with it. And I think we're going to see a lot more wrestlers get displayed. And that's what it's all about. Just seeing people on my TV that deserve to be on my TV.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But 30 minutes, I mean, honestly, 3 minutes of SmackDown in 2019 would have been too much. All that canned dog food and everything. That was horrific.
Yeah.
But it is a lot better now, no doubt about it. My main fear, I guess, is, of course, not worldwide now, internationally in most countries, WWE Raw and SmackDown is going to Netflix, right? So it's not just Raw in most countries, including the UK, including Australia, including Canada as well. So there's going to be a lot more people seeing these products, more people than ever before. And it's a big commitment to say, hey, come and check us out. But it will be 6 hours of your time a week compared to, 5 seems a lot less than 6 too. Like that jump for some reason seems a lot more than 4 to 5 to 6. But we will just have to, wait and see. But to your point, Josh, we are wrestling fans. It is undoubtedly going to be fun. Hopefully, we will see some surprises tonight. But at the same time, would they not just save them for Monday? I don't know.
What's this? So there's a theory that y'all think there'll be a cash-in today?
Yeah. Well, it's just because of what they teased last week with Tiffany Stratton going, I want the title. Tiffany said she wants the title. And this week, they'll want to have a news headline. So it could happen.
I am. You know what? That should have been my fix for the WWE. What are we doing with Tiffany Stratton right now? and this is not even me being a
Absolutely.
Tiffany Stratton truther. What are we doing with this story? Like, that's one thing Triple H can also all improve on. That man drags storylines like crazy, man. He drags a storyline wild. Like it is a lot sometimes. And I think that's one thing is this Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton dynamic has become so. I'm just waiting for her to cash in at this point. And my fear is I do think she will get a big pop when she cashes in just because fans will be excited for the moment, this, that, and the third. But it's now what comes after that. You know, I don't know if they're fearful if she's ready to be a champion yet or not. You know, if she's ready to be the world champ. And that's why they're keeping it moved. But in the same breath, have they really helped her out during the storyline? They've kind of made her
Not
look like
really.
a punk throughout the entire time. She didn't took losses to so many women throughout the entire Nia Jax reign. So, you know, that's a person that needs to be like Tiffany to me has a stature kind of like a different character, obviously, but like how like Drew is, right? Strong, dominant, imposing, fast. She needs to get in, get out in matches sometimes, right? She can have good contests with women, but sometimes you just need her to beat a chick down and show why she's like, you know, one of the more athletic, gifted people, kind of like how Bianca is in a way. So
She is one of those people who is naturally a very, very good heel. Her heel work in NXT was off the chart. She was phenomenal. And the fact that they are blatantly turning her face in this as well is another thing which is kind of questionable for me, rather than her continuing her NXT gimmick, which was so successful,
it's
tried and proven.
it's confusing because fans like her as a heel, and they just I feel the dynamic of a baby. I always say it's like positionless basketball. Fans are gonna like who they like, right? I like heels because heels are cool at times, right? But that doesn't mean you have to make them a baby face just because they are getting cheers instead of boos sometimes. Like that's the one thing that is kind of annoying where yeah, the baby face title reign for her, I don't know what that looks like, to be real with you. I've never seen her as a baby face.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I think I'm worried, to be honest with you. She's gonna fail the cash in tonight, but we will have to wait and see. Hopefully, she doesn't. But it is gonna be a fun one. It's going to be a really, really fun. 72 hours of professional wrestling? Well, I think we 7 or whatever. But it's going to be a fun one, no doubt about it. Thank you to Shad. Thank you to Josh for joining me here today. And thank you to everybody in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or over on Instagram. I can see we got some Instagram comments over here as well, and Twitch as well. We're on all the platforms. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow to talk to you guys about the first 3 hour SmackDown. That one is going to be fun. So we will see you guys then. Ba 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 ba.